I'll never forget Casey. I was walking around and I knew it was a girl. The moment I just knew she was a girl, and I was so excited. And there was no way I was going to go through that. Placing her up again. I was going to keep her. And I really think I just kept going, basically. And I remember when I was in labor with her, and at the time I was going to the community college, Salt Lake Community College, and I was a math tutor. I was tutoring the students there in the algebra, and I was in the middle of a tutoring session. I started having contractions, and so we're just like, okay, A equals MC, okay, hold that thought. And the contraction was over. I'm like, okay, now let's continue on with the lesson. And basically did that for maybe 45 minutes or an hour, because I was like, you know what, I have this huge thing in me that I get to be my word, and I want to follow through with things and do what I'm doing. So anyway, ended up at the hospital, had my baby, and then there I was, and single mom of two. I just have always had this drive in me that I want my children to be proud of me. I want my children to be proud of me, ultimately. Because that's not the feelings that I had about my parents. I was not proud of the parents that I had. I wasn't proud of their actions and what they created for themselves in their lives. I was very shameful of who they were and what they created in life. And that's a whole nother long Oprah story. But basically, as I've been working on, my story and where I'm going in my life and what I want to create, I've always been attracted to math and to the education system, and to education and to learning. And so I have always taken on opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to learn and grow. And I got to a point where my job that I had, I actually moved to Oregon, and I didn't finish my college education at that time. I actually have 2 years left, and then I'll have my bachelor's degree in accounting. But I just kept working in those areas and was very fortunate to have CPAs all along the way within every industry that I worked in that basically sat there and coached me and taught me what to do. And I had questions, and so I learned, and if I didn't know the answer, I would find that answer. And I basically worked myself up to working with a business. And my specialty really is the going in and cleaning up the accounting stuff, right? Getting it all cleaned up, especially when it gets a mess, because it's a mess out there, and a lot of people don't get it. They hate it. They don't want to do anything to do with math, and I think the biggest reason why they hate math is because it's boring. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm doing research for my competition and my videos and things, and I'm just all falling asleep. I mean, are you falling asleep yet? Who's falling asleep out there? I mean, accounting is boring sometimes. It's definitely not the most exciting subject in the world, but it can be. That's where I'm here. I'm here to create simplicity in accounting. I'm here to create fun in accounting and fun in our money game, because ultimately it is a game. I mean, that's what this is. This life is a game. It's all about learning and taking the game. And am I going to choose to take on this life and take on the game that's being played with me, the game that I'm creating in my life? Am I going to play with that? Or am I going to succumb to it and become this victim of, oh, woe is me, my life is miserable? Or are you going to step into it and take ownership of what it is that you're creating in your life? Take ownership for the results of your life. And that's what I do. That's what I've chosen to do. I mean, I could have been on welfare for years if I wanted to, but that was not what I wanted to do. And I'll never forget the day. I was only actually making $30,000 a year, but my kids were in, my son was in junior high school, and my daughter was in elementary school. And I'll never forget the day that I no longer qualified for free lunch at school. And the free lunch at school was the very last item that I was receiving from the government assistance. It was the last assistance that I was receiving. So, and I was only making $30,000 a year. I was living in, I had an apartment, or I had rented a house in Sandy, and my children were there, and I was working my butt off, and basically that's what I've done. I basically just worked my butt off, and I was so proud. I was so proud. I'll never forget how proud I was. I was like, yay, I'm finally doing it completely all on my own. I was so excited about the fact that I accomplished freedom from the government system and freedom from the government assistance, if that's what you want to call it. And I was so proud of myself. So basically, I was on some sort of financial assistance from the time I was 18 until my son was, so maybe 10 to 15 years, 10 to 12 years, 10 to 12 years, something like that. I was on some sort of government assistance, and basically slowly was taken off that, from everything being part of it to absolutely nothing. And as I've been doing this accounting and this cleaning up work, I mean, that's what my work was, time after time after time. It was cleaning up all these messes, and I probably had 10 different companies that I had done it for, 12 different companies, and we're talking big companies, little companies, but up to, a couple $100,000. My last client, one of my biggest clients, it took me 1.5 years to do it, because I was not only converting everything from Peachtree to QuickBooks, and then I was also cleaning up all the accounting mess, and I could go through the list of things. I could go through the list of things that show you where they lost so much money from their business. But I also was running the books at the current time as well. So it took me 1.5 years to really to get it done, and it was a huge challenge, but it was so much fun. It was a blast. Are you kidding me? It was like, for me, it was like a kid in a candy shop. Okay, I had this piece, I had that toy, I had this thing, I had all this stuff, and that I was able to put it all together, and it was like a great big puzzle, and I just juggle it up, and I put it all back in the pieces, and I put it in here, and it was a blast. It's a blast to me, because it's like a big jigsaw puzzle who likes jigsaw puzzles? You like finding the word search stuff. You like having those cognitive type exercises, and to me, that's what accounting is for me. It's this great big number game that I get to play in my head, and I figured out the rules, how to put, where, and I figured out which angles fit with which angles, and what goes into what, and how to organize it in the situation, so that at the very end of this whole thing, I have my Mona Lisa. Cha-ching! My balance sheet. My balance sheet is my Mona Lisa. Okay, I should sign the bottom of it. Beth Ann McMerrick. Yeah. Okay, we can frame it and put it up on the wall, and and the truth is that organization that is worth $100,000, because through the work that I did for this company, I found them $100,000 worth of over contracts paid, over this and that, late fees, that payments, this thing and whatever, and I get to work on all these little details, and that's what it's going to be. So yay. So here we are. I am going along, and I really, the economy hit, and I kept hearing my current boss at the time was like, you better get your resume ready, you better get your resume ready, you better get your resume ready. And the truth was, I hated being an employee. I was so sick of working in the environment that I was working in, where they didn't value what I had to say. They didn't value the work that I did. They didn't even look at the work that I did. They had no comprehension even of what I was doing, and thought, I'm basically the secretary, and didn't even take didn't value the words that I had, and this is big part of my own reflection as well, which I'm also learning about valuing myself and my voice. And so of course I didn't say anything either, but it got to a point where I was very resentful being in this business, very resentful working for these people. And so I decided in 2008 I had this client. I had another client that I was working part-time in the evening for, kind of on my own doing some stuff. And I had the opportunity to take on some more work for him. And then I had another person that had come into the office where I was at, and they said, "You're a controller? I want you to control me." And I just busted up laughing because I've never had anybody ever say they want me to control them. In fact, that was what most people said they didn't want, was they didn't want me to control them. And that's a whole nother long story too, because of my own issues, my own controlling and, oldest of 8 sister sibling, syndrome experiences of controlling and safety. And anyway. So to have somebody actually walk in my office and say, "I want you to control me," I was just like, okay, all right, if that's what you say. So I had a meeting with my employer at the time, and I said, "Dude, this is what I want to do. I'm create my own company. I want to let go of the managing their cash flow and just basically I'll stay on and just as a vendor to them, and so to just basically just take care of their financial accounting, take care of their upper level accounting, which is making sure the books are balanced and working with the tax and bank people, maintaining the tax relationship and business relationship with the banks, and I started my own business, and off I go. And the biggest reason why I decided to do that, there was 2 reasons. Number 1 reason was as a single person still, because I'm still single. I knew, because my daughter was now 18, 19 years old, and I was going to lose my single head of household status, and I was not going to be able to have her as a tax deduction anymore, because now she's 18 and she's out of the elementary education or whatever, and so I no longer had a deduction for her. So I lost that in my taxes, and I didn't get married, of course. I always thought, well, I'll just get married and then I'll have a married tax bracket. But as I've experienced watching accounting, or watching people in their with their taxes, and I worked for H&R Block for a while too during that time, I saw what the tax did to the single people. Oh my gosh, rape! Talk about being raped by the government. Okay, single tax bracket, it kills you. And I mean, they're taking what, 25%? I don't know the exact number, but way more than they need to. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, it's almost like the tax system keeps people in poverty, really, based on the tax bracket and the tax liability that we have, and it basically keeps people in poverty. There's multiple things that keep them in poverty, but that is one of them, in my opinion, in my belief at the moment.